Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the Red Bull Battlegrounds, the global qualifier number 2, top 2 qualify, as well as also I think get all expenses paid trip to Santa Monica, California here in a couple weeks. But starting over here at the top left side of the map, representing Axiom, it is AxRyung. And by the way, I might know my favorite player. I love AxRyung, man. He's so awesome. Anytime I get to cast him, I get all jitty and wiggly and very happy. So, of course, wish him the best. He got pretty deep into last qualifier. Hopefully, he'll be able to get just a little bit more deeper, and he might find his way over to Axiom. Of course, already a teammate of his has qualified, and that is Impact. So, you know, we're starting to see more and more of Axiom come over overseas just due to, you know, WCS America. We saw a lot of them actually last year, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of them this year as well. Down at the bottom right side of the map, he's facing a Zerg, representing StartaleCurious. It's Curious. Truly powerful Zerg himself. I don't want to say he slipped off a little bit, but, you know, I feel like he had a little bit better results back in 2013 and 2012, but, you know, still continuously playing StartaleCurious, kind of one of those teams that, that's who I was probably should have, like, thought about more often. Like, StartaleCurious is very a team that you could recognize. You would know if they went down, but when they have players like Life, I mean, you take a look. Do I have it up? No, I was about to say, like, drop the whole roster bomb, but I put to close it out. But, I mean, they got Live, they got Curious, they have Hack, I think Legends with them as well. Let me double check that again. They have quite a few players. They have Aphrodite, of course, everybody knows Aphrodite for her, you know, role in the team. Booster, Curious, Hack, Legend, Life, Panic, Pet, Suosin, Trickster, and Zero. Miss, of course, she is also one of those players. If you guys don't know too much about her, she's actually a Chinese player. She's pretty damn good. This is kind of like the odd thing. I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent. I used to like cast and kind of cover a couple of these like women's leagues back in the day, especially end of 2012. And she actually played at a pretty high level. I'm pretty sure she was GM at some point as well. It's pretty good, but I mean, you take a look, like, you know, StartaleCurious has a pretty damn good record of having really good players. You talk about Bomber recently joining Red Bull. You have Golden, you have Balloon, Salvation, Sound. Sound actually was one of my favorite players at the start of Heart of the Swarm because he would do all these crazy Hellbat builds. We would kind of abuse them, but at the same time, it was really entertaining to watch. The builds were really crisp and helped a lot of players out in TBT. You have Parting, Rainbow, King Kong, Son, of course, Extreme. And just incredibly huge roster, man. Squirtle, of course. Fruit Dealer, that's old school, man. Alright, so. Oh, you guys want the song here? Just a sec. I'll get you guys. I got you guys. Got a couple moments. Meanwhile, over here AxRyung, he is of course opening up with a one Reaper, one into Quick Reactor, getting a couple Marines out. Now this could mean a couple things. He could be maybe going for a little bit of pressure with Marine Hellion style of play. You could of course also go into drop. Has to be a little bit careful here because this one SCV might be in a little bit of trouble. Pushes the Overlord off now. Is there a starport? Yeah, there is a starport. So we could be seeing some Hellion Marine drop. I'm starting to actually see this a little bit more and more from Terran players. So hopefully, you know, we'll see a little bit more variety out of his playstyle. Because a lot of Terrans still do prefer to go with that standard Reaper into Reactor Hellion into starport opener or drop the third CC. So usually, typically, what you see. Speed just about done. Things, of course, just checking out, making sure there's no Marine here to pick anything off. Speed finishes up, takes the third base, starting to break down the rocks, of course. Very smart, and probably the best third hatch location. You could technically take the third hatch at the goal, but it is very, very risky. You have to be in a very prominent position and very confident in yourself because you just look at it and, you know, anything could come here and just snipe the whole entire mineral line down, or you could siege up behind it as well. Now, AxRyung, he's got a Viking out. Not going to be exactly going for that drop right away, though. Of course, the Viking does help out because you are able to clear out some drops. So, I mean, clear out the Overlords, which will allow you more position and more room to actually drop. He does have the medevac following up, so we still might see, you know, something maybe like a Marine drop with 6 or 8 Hellion run by. It's a little bit risky. It does take away from your third base. But there it is as well. I was about to mention something. We could see the armory thrown down due to the fact we could just go from Hellions into Hellbats. So it's very important actually for Young right now to micro and keep these Hellions and Reapers alive if he possibly can. He's going to try to filter them in behind the rocks, and there we go. A really good spot. Very tough to actually get a nice surround through there. So he'll push them off for the time being. He'll bring his Hellions back, and looks like the Overlords are now finally getting pushed off. The Vikings are going to kill it off. This is going to allow him to fly in from the north side of the map. He's going to instead go through the south side, and I think he actually got that Overlord as well. Was able to grab some vision, so good job by AxRyung. He's going to supply block Curious for a little bit, and now he's got a lot of Hellions. This is going to be a very aggressive playstyle and a very aggressive push. This is like some build order-esque like YouTube material, man, right here already happening. He's got the Marine drop on the south side, and he's got a lot of Hellions coming out over here. And you know what those Hellions are going to do? As soon as they get over there, they're going to form into Hellbats, and he's just going to move them right on in. It's going to be very hard to stop. There we go. He's got the Reaper, of course, involved. Marine is trailing. Here comes that drop inside the main base for AxRyung. First Marine's coming out. We'll see where the reaction comes, and we have Roaches popping out, but they're going to be reacting over here to the Marines. The Marines, of course, grabbing that first Queen. They're microing back as best they possibly can, keeping a lot of this alive, and now here comes all those Hellbats at the natural, pushing on through. The Roaches, they have to micro really hard. There's way too many Hellbats right now for them to just sit around and try to fight. And now, uh-oh, I'm really worried about all of these drones are getting cornered right now. He's trying to move them out of the way. And little by little, he's doing some pretty good damage right now, getting through over here. Meanwhile, right here, does he have anything with himself in the main? There we go. He also has the Marines coming down with that second medevac. Will the Roaches be able to fend off long enough? The DPS from the Marines in the back is really helping out right now. One Queen falls. Second Queen falls. Now it's just Lings, Roaches versus Hellbats and Marines. Curious, actually, though, getting a pretty good surround there, though the fight does continue. The Hellbats are very thick. He's going to lift them off for now, save the Hellions as well. The Viking, without the Queens, of course, is going to do some pretty nice work. It'll clean up a lot of these Overlords continually, so until he gets actually some more Queens out, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, the problem right here is in terms of trying to get Queens out, he can't build any. He's supply blocked. You take a look, this is so ingenious almost in a sense. He's supply blocked, and now all these drones inside the main base are going to be a little bit vulnerable. Roaches are heading across the map, but you could already see the bunker starting to get built. Third base is just about done. He's going to have, or should have, units in position, hopefully. And now all of these drones have to run away. Oh, yeah, and Curious just calls the GG. Like, as long as AxRyung would have had defenses back at home, and which he basically had, I wouldn't have seen a way where Curious would have been able to. And that's the thing right there. He wasn't going to be able to produce for a long time anyways. The Viking was going to continually take pot shots at those Overlords. The Overlords would have continually kept dying and dying and dying and dying and dying again. So all the units that were out on the field were there. He couldn't build any Queens to deflect the Queen off. He couldn't get any Queens or any anti-air specifically to be able to push the medevacs over. So really smart playstyle from AxRyung. Very interesting build order. It's one of those things I'm going to have to look back on. But a tough position to find yourself in, I feel like, as a Zerg player, because unless you prepare some additional Queens to deal with that, you're gonna have probably a pretty hard time. Like, Roaches are kind of help you out, Lings will help you out. You could see they eventually overwhelmed them, but without Queens, that the power is the medevac right there, and that Viking that came in at the very end.